Well, this is my second video. I still don't have a set topic or anything. I haven't really spent any time thinking about what I would actually talk about in these videos. It's mostly just off the cuff and whatever is in my mind in the moment. But one thing that's been going through my head recently was, where am I at? And what is God actually calling me to do? Because, I love science, I love doing science, but what gives me the most life, what gives me the most substance isn't science. It really isn't science. It's that, like, community service, for example, I did a lot in high school, and talking about God and, going in about theology and philosophy and all of those things. It's that stuff that gives me life, that gives me drive behind any discipline that I may have. And I was just talking to someone today, and he was telling me, maybe this is a season in your life where you need to be still. Just be. And know that God is who He is. And maybe not defect on what I've started, at least not yet. But focus on God and having a firm foundation for what will happen or may happen, according to His will later on. Because you never know. One example he brought up was, it took, 33 years before Christ started His ministry. And it took, I'm sure some of you know Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell. It took him about like 12-ish years or something like that before people started knowing who he was. And I'm not really sure. The only one who knows if or when that time will be is God. I'm not sure when or how or if I'll have my own ministry and I'll be in a position to only spread His word, and that just be my main thing that I do. But one thing I have noticed, and this is another thing that's just off the cuff that I've thought about just now in this moment, was that God often calls people into those spots who really don't want to be in that spot. Like Joseph, not New Testament Joseph, but in the Old Testament, he became Pharaoh. And he became Pharaoh through his brothers shipping him off to Egypt to be like a prisoner, I believe. And he ended up becoming, Pharaoh. He was a ruler. And King David, he was a brother who had many other brothers, and he was called to something so great. He became King David, as you know him. And you have Moses. He had a speech impediment. He couldn't talk well, but he was the one to lead the Israelites out. And you have examples of all these people, and I struggle with like anxiety. I struggle with being scared of those public spaces. Even though I've gotten better over the years and God has blessed me, I still struggle with those things. And I feel as if that maybe the ultimate curb to that, and like why I have it, why it's been such a problem, is probably because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Like being out there and preaching is probably the thing that's gonna lead how God uses me, but the enemy is curbing me in that way, he is like trying to take away the drive or the preset, so that I cannot achieve those things that God has put in front of me, or will put in front of me. But it's just a thought. I hear a lot of people talking about like the things you struggle with the most on the other end of that spectrum is probably what the enemy is so afraid of you doing. Like if you struggle with greed, you probably have a calling to give a lot to many people. If you struggle with pride, you're probably meant to be a role model for humility. If you struggle with lust, for example, you're probably going to be someone who loves many in the most pure fashion. But the enemy always has, always will, and always is going to steal, kill, and destroy. And on top of that, it's about lying, deception. And we're at a point now where it's pretty much very easy for the enemy to deceive us because we accept it. There's so many things that we can be deceived by so easily, especially, we have the internet, social media, and whatever that I'm, currently using. But, we have that, and we can fall into so many things that take us away and distract us. There's plenty of entertainment, there's plenty of satisfaction that you can get in the world as of now, that he doesn't need to send a demon to possess us or something like that. But if he can just do a small misdirection, a small deception, and we'll be all off course. So we need to stay focused. We all need to be still, even though action is what's needed, has always been needed, and always will be needed. We need to be still and know where we are, that God is true, that he is who he is, and that victory is already here. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. But so much God makes it simple though, because we overcomplicate everything. But just coming in humility answers it all. Surrendering solves our issues, because it's the recognition that we cannot do things on our own, that we actually do need help. And that's the greatest thing, just recognizing that there's something outside of you that's so much greater, and that everything you're dealing with can be just fixed. Just the separation of the wheat and the chaff. What's good and what's supposed to be here, just fundamentally what's good. Realizing that you aren't good, but only God is good. And that only when he dwells in you can you reflect that goodness onto the world. But that means you have to let him change your life. And that's what repulses many people. Having to completely alter your style of living and not be so comfortable. Because comfort is great, but coming out of that to achieve something higher is even greater. Because that's what builds you as humans. It's not staying in one spot, being stationary, but it's exploring the possibilities that God has put here for you. Recognizing that He has a plan for you. That there's something so much further beyond what you have planned for yourself. That's really it. But how many people will actually obey instead of just believe? How many will say yes and then act as if they just said yes? Fear it's not too many, but maybe it's even me. Only by the grace of God can I obey Him. And I think that's it. Those are all of my thoughts for now, but it's crazy. The world is in a wild spot, and we need to turn our eyes towards Him. Just Him alone. The simple things. But yeah, that's life. Still dealing with this cough. That's great. I think it's going away though, but whatever. Anyways, God bless. Peace of Christ. There's only one truth, one way, and it's Jesus. Amen.